That is correct, Mr. Chairman. The invitation was with Michael Young. So necessarily, I would be speaking with the people who works with Mr. Michael Young.
We were inviting Mr. Michael Young, not the corporation. And you said that you were present for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Young. And as proof of that representation, you submitted this authority. And this authority clearly speaks that it is for Mr. Michael Young.
May I move then, Mr. Chair, that we cite Mr. Michael Young in contempt for continuously being absent in spite of the subpoena, in spite of the invitation given him.
I move that we detain Mr. Michael Young for 30 days. And same as in the case of Mayor Ponsalan, he was cited in contempt and was detained in BICUTAN, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
According to him naman that his client, Mr. Michael Young, is not in contact with him for 2 years already. And I think Mr. Michael Young is not interested on trying to contact his lawyer. So I think the presence of Attorney Fortun here is not needed at this point of time.
If the issue is that I am not duly authorized, then let me be so declared. I have no problem with that. I had come forward to this committee with the representation that I have been duly authorized. Under the rules of court, a lawyer is presumed to represent the person who he claims to represent unless it is otherwise revoked or declared to be not so.
Good morning, Attorney Fortun.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
We missed you last hearing, Attorney, because there are questions that some of the members would like to ask you. But let me just ask these questions now that you're present. We have a copy in the hearing that you attended. A member of the committee has asked whether you are formally appearing as counsel to Mr. Michael Young. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And during that hearing also, a member has asked, Congressman Chairman Paduano has asked to show to this committee your law firm's engagement with Mr. Michael Young. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So, for the information of the honorable members, the chair received a letter, a copy of the engagement. Where is it? Of the Mr. yung attorney Fortun. Yung kay attorney Fortun. Nasaan na yun? So we received a copy of the dito lang. Where's the copy of the contract sent by attorney Fortun? So we have here a copy, Attorney Fortun, with your signed letter, complying with the request of the committee. Fortun Santos Law Offices, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
This letter that we received last hearing actually caused some of the members to ask questions as to the validity of this engagement. Please educate us. Ang nakalagay kasi dito that this document you sent, no, was a document which was signed by someone, not Michael Young. Ang nakalagay dito for and on behalf of Mr. Michael Young, yung engagement. Can you educate this committee why Michael Young was not the one who signed this engagement with your law firm?
We were contacted by the representative of Mr. Michael Young, Mr. Chairman, whose name is in the contract. And as a result thereof, he was the one who, I presume, duly authorized, who signed the contract with us.
Would you be at liberty to tell this committee who is the owner of this signature?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. His name is Garrick Hong. Garrick Hong. He's no longer connected with Mr. Michael Young, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
He used to be the interpreter as well as the executive assistant. He was the interpreter during the Senate investigation hearings. And the records will bear me out that he was the one interpreting for Mr. Michael Young during the Senate hearings, Mr. Chairman.
So it was Mr. Hong, the interpreter, who signed the contract between your law firm and for and on behalf of Mr. Michael Young.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Is that the normal practice of a law firm, Attorney Fortun?
So long as his authorization is evident,
So there was an authorization to Mr. Hong.
it was very clear, Mr. Chairman.
So in what form, Attorney Fortun, was the authorization given to Mr. Hong?
No, the authorization is not a written one. It is something that is very evident because of his dealings with Mr. Michael Yang. He was speaking in Chinese. He was the one interpreting for Mr. Michael Yang, and he was present in a number of meetings that I had with Mr. Yang, also interpreting for him. So he would presume to be authorized because subsequent to his affixing his signature on this document, the corresponding acceptance retainer was duly remitted to our law firm. So clearly, his signature was validated by the payment by the office of Mr. Michael Yang of our acceptance retainer.
Okay, so I will not belabor that point. I don't know if my colleagues
Mr.
here
Chair.
would like to ask questions also.
I am just going to ask something
Okay,
about the
Congressman Dan
contract.
Fernandez, then Congressman Kit
um,
Flores.
It is written in this conformity that it was signed September 5, 2021.
That is correct, Mr.
So
Chairman.
the contract with Mr. Michael Yang and your law office still exists.
That is
until
correct,
now.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Kasi naguluhan lang ako dahil nga September 5 pa tong 2021 that was confirmed by this signature. Ayun na po tanong ko, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman
Thank you, Mr.
Fernandez.
Chair.
Congressman Flores, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I'm just gonna follow what Congressman Dan Fernandez was asking about. Attorney Fortun, you said that the person who signed this contract was no longer connected with Mr. Michael Yang.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Good
Okay.
morning.
So how would you treat the engagement if the person who signed the engagement letter is no longer representing Michael Yang, yet you appeared before a committee using the same authority that was signed by the person who's no longer connected?
Well, the engagement, Mr. Chairman, was way back in September 5, 2021, when that person was still connected with the company. And it's no different, Mr. Chairman, from, well, it's a corporation or it's a company. So it is only after that same entity would either revoke or inform us that there was a termination of the engagement that we will be deemed to have severed our business relationship, Mr. Chairman. It is not a single person who is the one that we are contracting with, but the entity.
Yes, sir, but the document would say that the signature was for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Yang, not the corporation.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. That is why precisely the entity here is Mr. Michael Yang himself. The person who affixes signature on the document is his representative. If he is severed from the company, then the only one who can also revoke our engagement would be Mr. Michael Yang himself or the new representative, Mr. Chairman.
But did that just contradict your previous statement that it was the corporation that engaged the interpreter?
If you will take a look at the contract, Mr. Chairman, it speaks of our engagement by the Piley Holdings as well as some other corporations.
Yes, I'm looking at it, and it also specifically states that it is for the ongoing Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. This is a different committee, and this is a different house.
Again, Mr. Chairman, it is not the practice of our law firm to always be issuing out engagement letters for each and every case that we handle. Once a client comes in as a client, then automatically that client can refer additional cases without the need for a new engagement letter, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so did he refer this matter to you, to your office? This
Mis-
particular committee hearing in the House?
I would think that I had been duly authorized because when there was a letter received by this committee, I asked them if I could appear, and I was given that authority, Mr. Chairman.
So you asked Mr. Michael Yang?
Not Mr. Michael Yang, Mr. Chairman, but the people from Piley Holdings.
I'm confused now. This letter is for Michael Yang. It was signed for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Yang, and not the corporation that you have been mentioning. And in fact, the subpoena was, or the invitation was for Mr. Michael Yang, not for the corporation that you just mentioned.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Again, if Your Honor will take a look at the letter, at the contract, it speaks of our engagement not for Mr. Yang alone, but also for the corporations mentioned therein. So when I received the letter from this committee, being counsel for Mr. Michael Yang as well as the other corporations, it was incumbent upon me to inform them of having received the letter invitation and what my instructions would be.
Again, it's very confusing because you said that it was for the corporation, and you talked to the people of the corporation, but then the engagement is for and in behalf of only Mr. Michael Yang, not the corporations that you've just mentioned. And the invitation was sent for Mr. Michael Yang. You appeared for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Yang. Now, where's the authority there?
Again, let me repeat, Mr. Chairman, the letter speaks for itself on which or who our law firm represents and was engaged in that contract.
Okay, then you were here for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Yang the last time you were here, Attorney
Yes.
Fortun, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so if the invitation was for Mr. Michael Yang, and your authority here is for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Yang, yet you just testified that before coming over, you talked to the persons of the corporation, not Mr. Michael Yang, to appear for and in behalf of them here in this hearing. So where was the conformity of Mr. Michael Yang?
The corporation individuals who I had spoken with,
Sir, I'm
presume-
referring to the invitation of Mr. Michael Yang.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. The invitation was with Michael Yang. So necessarily, I would be speaking with the people who works with Mr. Michael Yang.
Sir, I think that's a different thing. It's the corporation, and this time we were inviting Mr. Michael Yang, not the corporation. And you said that you were present for and in behalf of Mr. Michael Yang. And as proof of that representation, you submitted this authority. And this authority clearly speaks that it is for Mr. Michael Yang, but only signed by the person who is no longer connected with Mr. Michael Yang. And yet prior to coming over, you said that you were conversing with the people of the corporation, not Mr. Michael Yang. So I'm really confused, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I do not wish to belabor the point. If the issue is that I am not duly authorized, then let me be so declared. I have no problem with that. I had come forward to this committee with the representation that I have been duly authorized. Under the rules of court, a lawyer is presumed to represent the person who he claims to represent unless it is otherwise revoked or declared to be not so.
That's true, sir.
My point, Mr. Chairman, right now is that if your honor believes that this counsel is not duly authorized for the reason that that letter is not proof that this counsel is not the representative or the counsel of Mr. Michael Yang, I submit to the sound wisdom of this committee. Then so discharge me as so.
Sir, the only reason why we're trying to clear up this point was because in the previous hearing, you were specifically asked if you were representing Mr. Michael Yang. And if you were representing Mr. Michael Yang, if you have proof that you were authorized or engaged to represent Mr. Michael Yang. Both questions, you answered it affirmative, that you were, and that you had proof that you were engaged. And that's why we're questioning this engagement, because it doesn't appear to be the engagement that or the authority that we were asking for. But if you're really insisting that you were authorized, sir, that the question that I asked is if you were able to talk to Mr. Michael Yang prior to coming over. But then again, you answered, I did not talk to Mr. Michael Yang, but I talked to the people of the corporation. Because I'm trying to connect the issue on your authority and also the issue of the whereabouts of Mr. Michael Yang, because we've been trying to get in touch with the guy. Now we've been trying to invite him over, and you keep appearing as his representative. So I hope you understand why we're really, belaboring the point, as you said.
I do understand, Mr. Chairman, and I regret if there's been any confusion because of this. Again, I'd like to clarify and I'd like to make it clear that the engagement of a law office is really just one-time thing. Very clearly from the document, it would show that this counsel had been duly engaged as counsel for Mr. Michael Yang. Now, any subsequent appearances in court or in any other proceeding wherein Mr. Michael Yang or the corporations that are mentioned in that engagement letter is involved, then this counsel can be duly tapped by that individual or corporation to appear on its behalf. It does not require this law office to come out with a new engagement letter because it's superfluous to our mind, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so if you say that you are duly authorized by Mr. Michael Yang, do you know the whereabouts of Mr. Michael Yang now?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. He's in Dubai.
He's in Dubai. And when was the last time you got in touch with Mr. Michael Yang?
Per se, him, maybe 2 years ago. He is very difficult to speak with directly, Mr. Chairman. He only speaks Chinese, and this counsel does not speak Chinese.
So, in representing him in this particular hearing, what were the parameters of your engagement? Did he tell you na you can only answer about this or that? Kasi it would be useless for you to appear and here and say that you were properly authorized to appear without you having been in touch with your principal and coordinated with him what possible answers you would be allowed to give to this committee.
Mr. Chairman, during the first time that I appeared about a month or a month and a half ago, I had made it very clear as well that the only reason that this council appeared was because the letter invitation to Mr. Michael Young was sent to our law office instead to him directly. And so I had said that out of respect for this committee, I was appearing, and the honorable committee members had taken advantage of that particular situation and asked me a number of questions, aside from asking for additional documents, which this council would be in a position to provide. And I, in fact, did
Yeah.
that by providing it. So, per se, Mr. Chairman, I had done it precisely because I wanted to somehow help this committee to arrive at some information in aid of legislation that would be able to, well, at least in my personal capacity, as to being able to speak for and on behalf of Mr. Michael Young, I have regrets that I cannot do so because, to be perfectly candid, I have not spoken to him for roughly more than 2 years since the last time that there was a hearing before the Senate.
Sir, wouldn't it have been more prudent on the part of you acting as a lawyer of Mr. Michael Young to try to get in touch with him because you've received already 2 invitations before this committee and it refers to his dealings prior to, or no, so yeah, prior to the last time you talked to him 2 years ago. So at least man lang be updated on what has been happening or the probable questions that may be asked before this committee. Because you claim that you are still representing him, that the engagement is still ongoing. So, para sa akin, parang hirap naman intindihin na hindi mo man lang kinausap. Or even if he doesn't speak English or Tagalog, I'm sure your law office could have arranged a time and a date where you could call him with an interpreter siguro.
I am perfectly sure, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Michael Young's presence before this committee is what this committee is after, not
Yes.
merely just the information to be provided by a lawyer. Whatever I say before this committee will not be taken on behalf of Mr. Michael Young,
That's true,
because
sir.
that will be hearsay.
That is
That's
true.
why if I do try to contact Mr. Michael Young, the only thing that I can ask would be, would you be able to attend the committee hearing? And that is the reason why I had contacted the people from Piley Holdings in order to inquire from them, is he coming back, when he's coming back, and would he be able to attend the committee hearing? Any information given to me, number one, would be hearsay. Number two, it would also be a violation of my lawyer-client privilege, Mr. Chairman.
True. Now, you got in touch with Piley Holdings Corporation to ask them about this invitation, but never the person to who engaged you, as a representative, as this letter clearly states. So, it's, I don't know, parang in-engage ka ng tao, yet ibang tao kausapin mo if the invitation was for that person. That's kind of hard to believe, Attorney Fortun. No? But anyway, since that's what you answered, sige, I'll leave it at that na lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Flores. There are more clarifications that the committee members would ask Attorney Fortun later with regards to the engagement of his law firm to Mr. Michael Young et al. I would suppose that his company, his corporations, which he has a share on, is the same law firm that he engaged, no? Your law firm.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would think so.
Mr. Chairman.
So, sige, Congressman Acop,
Sige.
and then Congressman Dan Fernandez, and then we proceed with the Zoom presentation. Congressman Acop, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're talking about Mr. Michael Young. May I ask if a subpoena was issued to Mr. Michael Young? In the last hearing, we approved on motion of a member of this committee that we issue a subpoena for Mr. Michael Young.
Please reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, sir, we have issued a subpoena. This was dated June 24, 2024. And this was received by a certain Mr. Cedric Sidenio, receptionist of the Fortun Santos Law Office. Date of receipt is July 4, 2024 at 2:44 p.m.
And yet, today, when he's supposed to appear pursuant to that subpoena, Mr. Yang is not present.
Yes, sir.
And pursuant also to our protocols in our inquiry in aid of legislation, if a person does not appear pursuant to a subpoena, then we can move if we have a quorum to cite that person in contempt. Would that be correct?
I believe so, sir, according to our rules.
Mr. Chair, do we have a quorum this morning as of now?
Yes, Congressman Akop, there is a quorum. In addition to the 8 members who are present, both in Zoom and physically present in today's hearing, we have an additional member who just arrived, Congresswoman Jinky Luistro, who is also present. Therefore, the number of attendees in this committee hearing, 10 members present.
May I
With
move
the-
then, Mr. Chair, that we cite Mr. Michael Yang in contempt for continuously being absent in spite of the subpoena, in spite of the invitation given him. So
Second
move,
the
Mr.
motion.
Chair.
Okay, there is a motion to cite in contempt a resource person who has
Second the
not
motion.
appeared before this committee despite several invitations and despite a show cause order being demanded from him. Since he's not present, pursuant to our rules on Section 11, if I may read, the committee may punish any person for contempt by a vote of 2/3 of the members present. We have a quorum. We have 10 members present, which is more than 2/3. And citing the violation committed by Mr. Michael Yang on Section 11, Paragraph A, refusal without legal excuse to obey summons and invitation. There is a motion to cite Mr. Michael Yang in contempt. And duly seconded. Hearing no objection, the committee is now citing in contempt Mr. Michael Yang.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Congressman Dan
Yeah.
Fernandez.
Mr. Chair, I think let us not belabor Mr. Attorney Fortun, no? Of his presence on our hearing anymore. Since according to him naman that his client, Mr. Michael Yang, is not in contact with him for 2 years already. And I think Mr. Michael Yang is not interested on trying to contact his lawyer. So I think the presence of Attorney Fortun here is not needed at this point of time. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we excuse Attorney
Mr. Chairman.
Matter.
Okay, before we rule on that motion by Congressman Dan Fernandez, Congressman Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, before I make a manifestation with regards to the statement made by Attorney Fortun, Mr. Chairman, the first motion was already approved, citing in contempt Mr. Michael Yang. So we have to move for another motion for how long and where to detain Mr. Michael Yang. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we detain Mr. Michael Yang for 30 days. And same as in the case of Mayor Ponsalan, he was cited in contempt and was detained in BICUTAN, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before I rule again on that, let me dispose first of the first motion by Congressman Dan Fernandez. His motion is to excuse the counsel appearing for and on behalf of Mr. Michael Yang.
Mr. Chairman.
Since we will not be anymore asking questions to him, so there is a motion to excuse Mr. Attorney Raymond Fortun in our today's hearing. Hearing no objection, duly seconded.
Before I second the motion of Chairman Dan Fernandez, as I've said, I just make a short manifestation with regards to the statement made by Attorney Fortun. As I said, Mr. Chairman, Attorney Fortun is claiming to represent Michael Yang, but he never talked, he never seen the subject of this investigation for 2 years. How can represent a person without talking? No. Now, the authority that was given to him, sabi niya nga, Michael Yang, but of course, he talked to the members of the corporations, representing Paili Holdings Corporation, eh magkakasunugan na to. Kasi if I will ask, Atty. Atty. Fortun, are you at liberty of testifying this committee who are those people in this corporation that you have submitted to us? The following group of companies: Piley Holdings Corporation, Piley State Group Corporation, and all other subsidiaries.
Mr. Chairman, I can duly inform you that the person who I tried to reach was via a cell phone, and that this is the cell phone of the legal department of Piley Holdings.
So yun na naman, legal department. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I will not be able on that. So I second the motion of Atty. Dan Fernandez to excuse Atty. Fortun in this particular hearings.
Okay, there is a motion, duly seconded. Hearing no objection, the motion of Congressman Dan Fernandez is approved.
Thank
Now,
you, Mr. Chairman, for
Umani naman ito ng iba't ibang reaksyon mula sa ating mga netizens. Ayon kay Eddie King, Attorney can presume, must have document to speak of her authority to sign contract. Pahayag naman ni Araceli Nobes, dapat makontempt si Attorney Fortun for attempting to represent Michael Yang without authorization from said Mr. Yang. Attorney Fortun has wasted the precious time of the committee. At ito naman ang saloobin mula sa ating kababayan na si Pedro Junicio, masyadong humahaba ang pag-decide kung tatanggapin ba ng resource person si Attorney Fortun. Hindi siguro alam ni Yang ang ginagawa ng lawyer niya. Mga kababayan, feel free to comment below para maglabas ng saloobin sa balitang ito.